Hey guys, how are you today? We're going to create a simple component, functional component in React, and we're going to print it in the screen. So for that, the first thing that we have to do is create an application, a React application. So we can come here, what it says, terminal, and create a new terminal here. Open a new terminal, and then I'm gonna go here and just move to the desktop directory, and then I'm going to create this application. For that, we have to type in npx create React app, and then the name of the application is gonna be maybe React practice, and then I hit enter, and then it begins to create my application for me. So it's downloading all the dependencies. It would take a few, probably a minute, right? Let's wait when it downloads all the dependencies. Okay. For this program, we are using VS Code. That's the IDE that mostly all programmers use for creating React apps. All right, so I'm going to clear this screen here, right? So now what I have to do is open the folder that I created in my desktop. I'm going to go there where it says React Practice and open that. All right, so when I create this application, it creates this folder for me where you have the App.js file. This is the one that shows when you run npm start, and it creates the JSON package.json file that you can use to run the script. So what I have to do here is just type npm start, and it will run this script for me. Let's try that. So I'm going to open the terminal again, and then I'm going to type npm start, right? And it's going to open a web browser for me, right? See? This is the React app, right? Now, if I change, for example, maybe if I change something in the app.js file, you see here we have this component here. Now, if I just remove this, right, and I just leave this, and if I put hi, and I refresh that, I'm going to see that it says hi here. Okay, so this is how fast React is. So what I have to do now is create a component. So here in the source folder, I'm gonna just right click. I'm gonna say new file, right? And I'm gonna create a folder, a file, sorry. And I'm gonna say practice file dot JS. Okay, so now I'm gonna create a component. The first thing that I have to do is import React from React. Okay, I have to do that for every single file in React, because you know that's the technology that we're using, right? We have to import React. Now I'm gonna say const, let's say practice, right? And then we're gonna use an arrow function, which is a type of function in React, right? And now I'm going to export this particular component, right? So whatever I put here, I want to print it in the app.js file right here. Okay, so I'm gonna put here return I'm gonna return something here, right? And I want to say, I want to just import this fragment part of React, and I want to use it here because you know that whenever you write in JSX, which is the format that we're using here, we have to have a parent tag. So in this case, I'm going to use fragment, and then I can put anything inside here. Okay, I can have a div as a parent, but if I want to put something outside the div, I can't, right? But with the fragment tag, I can use whatever I want inside here. Okay, so I want to say here, for let's say that I want to say this is a div, right? And I want to say, I want to use the h1 tag, and I want to say this is my first React app. Okay, so right now nothing is going to print. If I come back here, it still says hi, because that's what I have here in the application.js, right? That's what I have here. So what I have to do is import this component, right? Imported here. So I can say here, import practice from practice file, which is where this component is, right? Now I can't use this component and print whatever is inside here. So if I just remove this hi here and I use this practice component and I save close it, right? If I do this now, I get this is my first app. Okay, so this is how easily you can create a functional component and then print it in the application. So we can put some, if we want, we can put some styling here. So we can say this, you know, for React, you have to use, this is the format for styling. You have to put double curly braces, and then inside here, you have to use an object, right? It's going to be an object. It's not the same as CSS. It's different. So I have to say color, and then exactly as you do an object in JavaScript, then you can say red. Okay? So now, if I just save it, it says, this is my first React app, and it is red. I can put another one. Remember, objects are, properties of an object are divided, are just separated by comma, right? So I can put here font, weight, and then I can say bold. Okay? And now it's bold. Okay? Before it wasn't like this. Now it's bold. Okay? So this is the way you do React styling, right? And you have to notice something here is that, okay, I just formatted it. That's why it chose this. It is a different way now. I formatted it. Okay, so very important, in React, you don't use this, because in CSS, you do this, right? But not in React. In React, you have to use camel casing and only one word. Okay, so there you go. This is your first app. We just printed one component. You can create all the components. Let's create another one for you guys to see it. Let's say file, another component. Let's use a dash here. Another component, .js. So on the other component, we're going to do exactly the same. We're going to import React and fragment inside React. And all of this is imported from React. Okay? So now we're going to create this component. We're going to say const another component, right? This is the name that we give it. We use this arrow function because it's a functional component. And now we can say return and then fragment, right? Close this. And then we can say, let's use h2. It's a little smaller. and say this is another component. Okay. Now this one, let's give it a styling, some styling, and then we'll say this is gonna be color blue, right? And that's it, right? Now we have to export this component. This has to always happen because otherwise you cannot import it from another component, right? In another component. So another, and then it's already exported. Now what I have to do is come back here and say import another component from, and then we say here another component. And here we come and say do exactly the same thing, and we just have close it, and then we come here, we have this is another component. Okay, and last but not least, I want to create a class component, not a functional component, and then I want to just come here and say class component. Okay, and then I'm gonna import React fragment, right, from React, and then here I just put class, and then we call it class component. We can give it any name you want. Okay, extends component, right? Now here I'm gonna put component. Otherwise, if I don't put component here, where is it? Okay, class component here. If I don't put, I have to do this. Okay, and I don't want that. I don't want that. So I better do this. I like this better. If I say component, right? Then I don't have to write React.component. I can do this because component is basically coming from React, right? So here I have something called a render method, okay, and then I can do the return now, and then the fragment tag. So the class component is a little bit different. So for functional components, we use a function, right? It's a functional component, and then we use a function, an arrow function. Here we use a class, okay, because we're rendering something. Okay, so at the end we have to do the same thing. We can put the word export here if we want, right? But I prefer to put it as I've done before so far. So I put here export default class component, right? Now I can put anything here, right? I could put something here. I can say an h12, right? I can say this is the class component, right? Hooray, right? Let me give you some color here. Let's say style, I'd say color, and let's say brown. Okay. So now what I have to do is the same thing. I import, okay, class component from class component, and then I do exactly the same. You see how easy it is? Class component, and then when I come here, I said this is the class component. I can even create another functional component, right? Let me create another functional component, and let me call this nested component, okay, .js, and then I can say the same thing, import React, and then the fragment. Remember, this is a functional component. We don't need component, okay, from React, right? And then we say const, we say nested component, and then we do this. Okay, we come here at the end and say export default right? Nested component, right? And now we can say fragment, first return, and then fragment, and then here, let me format it. Here we can say, we can import here the nested component. We can say nested. Let's see here how I wrote it. Okay. No, we can say here hi nested component here, and then there's a color. Let's say style color. You say orange, and we say font weight, right? And we say bold. Okay, nested component bold. So in the class component, we can import nested component. Let me see how I call it here. Let me call it like this: nested component, capital letters. The standard to use capital letters here. So I'm gonna say nested component from nested component, and then below this h1 here, right, I can say nested component, right? And now when I come here, it says nested component. So basically we can put one component inside another component. So I create this nested component, right? I created some text here in the nested component. I said nested component here. I came to the class component, imported that nested component. I put it down here below this text, and in the application.js file, what I can do is import the class component which has the nested component inside. So I can do this, and then the result is this one. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, you can leave me a comment inside in this video, in the comment area. And I hope you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to subscribe.